Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Austin here with StarCraft 2 commentary number 20. Today's game will have a TvT featuring Zapper, our, of course, ever popular channel replay sender inner, which I believe would just be channel replay sender. No reason to get over enthusiastic there. So at the bottom left we have Zapper, our Red Terran player of Shakura's Plateau, of course, pitted up against Bajastapler. So I could say Baja or just Bajastapler. Yeah, that's fine. That has a nice ring to it. I like the name. So, as mentioned in the last episode, I actually casted that episode some 30 minutes ago. I pretty much casted a game, ate dinner, and now I'm doing this one. Why? I've just felt like doing a second commentary. I've never done a double header. It's always been on different days, so why not? We've already introduced our players, and we have a supply depot here just from Zapper. He's always done this in his Terran games, and I'm really not sure why. Most Terran players go for the wall, but I guess in a TvT, nonetheless, Zapper is undefeated on my channel, and let me just make a little comment about that from his words exactly. Well, his words exactly, not necessarily mine as well. It's tough to send in a good game you've lost, because when you lose a StarCraft 2 game, it's kind of frustrating, at least for me it is. So it's difficult to kind of own up to your loss and send in a game. Zapper has lost, so let me tell you, he was rank 1 bronze in last season. I believe he's either silver or gold this season. Definitely coming along as a player, but he's not perfect. He's not won every game he's played or anything like that. Do not be under that impression. He's still a human like we all are, in case you were wondering. He is producing a barracks here somewhat close to his bunker, and now just harassing with his SCV and allowing his noble worker to barely get off with his life. So now this SCV, he quite carefully microing it, and sadly, well, actually carefully microing him, because SCVs are prominently male. Sadly, that SCV did perish. So now he does have these two supply depots, and in the last game I did mention that TVPs were. I believe TVP is my most popular matchup. Yet I've had a TTVTT and another TVT, so thankfully I did have a mirror matchup, ZVZ, so a lot of diversity. I mean, there are a total of, what, 6 matchups? PvP, ZVZ, TVT, TVP, TVZ, and ZVP. Yeah, so that's 6 matchups total, because it's 3 races times 2 races per game. I hope I'm getting this right. Please correct me if I am wrong. And so both players getting underway. We just have this refinery from Zapper and a second barracks right after his first. He has the Scout Marine. Actually, the second Scout Marine now scouting with his. He is scouting with his SCV. Okay, so let us not say the Scout Marine, the first Marine, and big Bajastapler. I misread it. Big Stapler for a second there with a comparable build. Except he's not getting the orbital command as his opponent is. He's going for the 3 racks instead, with Marines flowing out of both bases. So a slightly more numeric build from Bajastapler, and Zapper opting for a tech lab on one of his barracks, as is his opponent. So a little bit of a similar build, except a blue Terran player he is in the midst of getting a second gas, and so let us see what that transitions into. Perhaps a 3 racks pressure, as that is quite a common. It's quite a common rush. Zion, a viewer of mine and a good friend of mine, always comments when I play him at how I always rush. The other night I played him in 3 RVRs, random versus randoms, and I won all 3 because each time I rushed, and in the third game it was a ZVZ, and I went for a mass muta, and he had Banewing Roach Sling. So nonetheless, I would say this is 3 racks pressure is quite a rush. It puts a lot of pressure on your opponent early in the game, and Zapper opting for the Reaper, so that is an early pressure of his own. Combat shields here producing for Bajastapler, so no such upgrades for Zapper. And a reactor for Zapper as well, so he's working more on his add-ons, and he does have this 3 racks as well, but it's slightly later. So Bajastapler has been able to produce a larger amount of troops, and not sure why he lifted that barracks off. Oh, he's landing another to produce a reactor, because that was not possible in that format. He must have misclicked and selected both. Pardon the voice, I've just been quite tired, as I mentioned in the last episode. I need to stop making references to the last episode, in case you have not seen it, but nonetheless, my voice is a little scratchy. It's been a long week for me, but I am still passionate in doing this commentary, and I hope you enjoy it. It is quite a thrill for me to produce. And a second Reaper, I would imagine, if that is still the first Reaper. No, it is the first Reaper, so Reapers take agonizingly long to produce. 45 StarCraft 2 seconds, and that is so... Oh no, it is the second Reaper, so maybe they're not that agonizingly long to produce. Let us see how Zapper goes about putting on this pressure. Bajastapler now also getting stim packs, but Zapper is finally getting an is not finally, he's getting an engineering bay ahead of his opponent, so kind of upgrades here, upgrades there, and now these Reapers quickly getting to work, but Bajastapler adeptly moving away his workers. I don't even I think he might have lost one, and both of Zapper's Reapers will fall, so let us see. Our units lost have just, what is that, 2 workers killed from Zapper, so he only killed 2 workers, and the cost of Reapers compared to the cost of workers just completely, that is not a trade-off. And now, as we see here, my Reapers weren't told to hop down, and so there's the scan from Zapper noticing the 2 racks with tech labs and the 1 rack with reactor, and now this factory producing a tech lab of his own, so that is quite evidently a 3 racks pressure build executed at its finest with these combat shielded Marines of Bajastaplers. I almost wanted to say Big Stapler again there. Moving out, mobilizing his astonishing army. So I actually love the look of Marines with combat shields. They're just often early game Terran players. A fault of Silver and Bronze League Terran players is their lack of combat shields. And I just, it's thrilling to watch. Now these Marines moving up that hill, trying to storm the beach. As in D-Day, if you saw my hallucination sentry video, that little special I made a couple weeks back, you may have seen that massive 200 population battle, and it was just extremely interesting to watch how hallucinations were put to use. Make sure to check that out. Nonetheless, we do have concussive shells from both players, except infantry weapons level 1 from Zapper, so that may come extremely in handy for our red Terran player later in this game, and he is now moving out, so I'm just not sure if Bajastapler will have the means to deal with this, but never mind, he just perfectly timed the siege tech and siege tank. This should not be a problem for him. Zapper's force suddenly seems paltry in comparison, so he's probably going to try to move forward and get this vision. If this siege tank is microed well, it should not be a problem for him to hold off. It does fall, but it did its damage, was able to pretty much take down Zapper's force. He will move in here. Bajastapler losing the 1 Marauder to concussive shelled Marauders of his opponents. But I just do not... No, they will not be able to destroy the natural. So, I would say somewhat of a trade-off. We will again check our units lost tab. So, 27 units killed for Zapper and 19 for Bajastapler. So, a little bit more in favor of Zapper. I'm not sure if it was entirely the most economical thing for Bajastapler to do to put that 3 racks pressure, as it just did not work well. His units were not micro well up the ramp. They should have at least sat at the natural, preventing a natural, as Zapper would have had difficulty taking it from him. Then again, on second thought, with siege tanks he may not have, but Zapper has not entirely invested in siege tanks just yet. No, he has built nothing on his factory and just opted for a medevac, and now he does have another. So a drop pending. I was about to say that, and then I see the units load up. So Bajastapler with some response pressure, exactly 2 Marauders and 2 Marines, but Zapper's units are upgraded, so that makes all the difference. As I said before, the engineering bay upgrades do change everything, even early in the game. Look at that, the 1-0 vastly outnumbers forces from Zapper, still taking out some of his opponents. So if I were Bajastapler, I would go straight for my opponent's economy. That is always what I tend to do when I see that my opponent has when I see my opponents producing and my force is not big enough to destroy their whole base, I go for the economy. But that was an extremely smart hit on Bajastapler's part, but now we do have Zapper's forces moving in and punishing his opponent's mineral line, so a completely well done trade-off. Bajastapler did lose so many units, and Zapper was able to hold off, so he's suddenly looking good for this game. I just did not even notice that. I apologize, I was so focused on the action in Zapper's base, I did not even notice that Bajastapler had lost so many workers, and a total of 19 workers killed. That drop was incredibly economical, so Zapper finally justifying the failure on his Reaper's part with this amazing drop. Again, I apologize for not noticing that. I just the last second I see these wrecked units in the base, and I'm like, oh my god, the drop is underway, and wow, very well done on Zapper's part. So this has been quite a back and forth game. Bajastapler has fallen behind, but he does have a plethora of military units, and calling down all of these mules, they will almost entirely substitute for his lack of SCVs as he gets back into the midst of producing. So we just have there's been a lot of action so far. Zapper, he did lose this command center, and an extremely important thing to note, as I was just touching on Bajastapler's part before I noticed the drop, he took out his opponent's engineering base. So that could be a massive game changer, as without an engineering base, Zapper has entirely omitted to produce upgrades, and now his opponent will get this nice range on Bajastapler, that is, our blue chip player, getting some nice range on his opponent's force, but he will lose the siege tank and lose the army, and the one marine there just kind of throwing rocks at sticks at the real dogs. So that's what separates the boys from the man. The one marine bravely trying to take on the massive force. Too bad he just could not do it. So I guess the destruction of his opponent's engineering bay inspired Bajastapler to build one of his own. He does have weapons level 1 finally producing, so that will get him somewhat on par. It will actually get him entirely on par. So I'm assuming that after Zapper lost his engineering bay, he was so caught up on repairing the natural, repairing all the damage that had been done, that he just completely forgot to rebuild it. So now he will potentially fall behind in upgrades in the late game if he is unable to recuperate that building. So we do have another command center. Interesting strategy here from our Red Terran player. He has just the one SCV waiting patiently as this command center morphs into a orbital command. I never knew that was the term used. So we do have another drop from Zapper. Did very little initially, but now let's see what he can do. His opponent still at 0-0. That upgrade taking seemingly forever to produce. So Zapper's forces will nimbly move out, and and we just had the medevacs going past medevacs. Too bad neither of them can attack. That's pretty funny. Imagine if a medevac can just crash into another and sacrifice itself to take it down. That'd be hilarious. Nonetheless, let us go back to our units lost. So Zapper's completely, not completely, but definitely in the workers kill tab, 15 ahead. In the units kill tab, 22 ahead, which is quite a lot when you think of the cost of the units, but you have to factor in the 20 workers. So if when we talk about solely military units, it's a 2-unit difference between Bajastapler and Zapper. Still, the worker kills has made all the difference for Zapper against his opponent. So he's building 2 ninja engineering base, so I did doubt his ability to recuperate. I thought he had just completely forgotten, but now he does have 2 ninja engineering base producing. That's quite an interesting strategy, and his opponent still does have the 1-0. So if Bajastapler were to push right now, they would be on even ground in terms of upgrades, but I'm just not sure if he has the kind of force to overtake Zappers, especially with the high ground advantage and barracks here. So these ninja engineering bays will make a difference. We do have our infantry armor level 1 from Bajastapler, and it was only recently that I figured out Terran players need an armory to produce weapons level 2 and 3 and armor level 2 and 3. That came as a surprise to me. I guess it makes sense. If you're a Protoss player, you need the Twilight Council. If you're a Zerg player, you need the lair and hive. And I realized since I'm playing this, since I'm recording this on medium settings, this water actually looks terrible. I guess that's one of the biggest differences between medium and high. It just looks like there's no map underneath, and there's just like kind of illusions there. So when I get that new hard drive I've been rumoring about for so long, surely this water will look a little better on Shakura's Plateau. So Bajastapler stimming up the front part of his units, and a Raven from Zapper. Intriguing air build. I watched Husky's famous Team Liquid free-for-all 8-way, and the winner of that was TLO, and he went for Mass Raven, which was so well done. So now Zapper loses the orbital command. He will be supply blocked. Both mules going to die, and I'm not sure if Bajastapler is going to be able to see what is underway from his opponent in terms of these 2 ninja engineering bays. So an armory now, so it's just the ninja upgrade corner from Zapper, and now the siege tank just getting a shot off that will inflict some hurt. So Bajastapler moving forward and carefully trying to micro back his units so that they so that they can retreat to the siege tank. So now a drop with 3 medevacs surely underway, but we do have weapons level 2 and armor level 1, both producing from Zapper. So, right as of now, bajastapler has actually overtaken his opponent in terms of upgrades. So we have a push versus push. Zapper completely out... Not completely, Zapper pushing on his opponent. He did destroy that base there, and now bajastapler will push on Zapper. So let us see how this works. We have not all the units unloaded, so a little bit of a mishap there from bajastapler, not unloading all of his units. That's key when you are facing up against your opponent's base. And now he is moving in. Zapper omitting to move any of his forces, so just this lack of micro could be our red player's downfall. He has some upgrades in production, and I think those ninja upgrade centers in the corner of the map here may make the entirety of the difference. So he did get that armory to permit him to research level 2 upgrades. So he will be 2-1 in a matter of probably a few minutes. Yeah, these upgrades do take quite a while, 190 and 160 respectively. So this one Raven just rendered quite useless at this point. Zapper is pushing on his opponent's base, so I'm just not sure who's going to come out on top here. The orbital command moving out, and Zapper will do the exact same and lift off most of his buildings, but these Marines will surely intercept him. This one orbital command will blow up, and just a barracks here trying to fly away, but one starport is secreted away, and upgrades are finishing. So these 2 siege tanks here from bajastapler just hanging around needlessly, and Zapper will try to fly away this barracks. Can he do it if he can land it somewhere? Oh, he is being revealed now, so all of a sudden bajastapler can see everything that his opponent has. So let us see how he can do it. All of these SCVs probably going to move in and inflict some hurt. And so if this barracks cannot be repaired in time, it could cost Zapper the game. bajastapler with just these 2 buildings lifted off entirely. There will probably be a final epic engage, but Zapper has outpaced his opponent by a slight bit. The siege tanks may make all the difference, though. If these 2 siege tanks are microed well, that could win the game for bajastapler. So we have this 1 starport lifted off in the corner of the map, and dropship medevacs here landing next to the orbital command. So 3 buildings up in the air from bajastapler. The barracks does explode, and so this orbital command will most probably fall. But if bajastapler can successfully out-micro his opponent, he is down 2-1 in the upgrades. If he can micro well, he could very well win this. So if he is able to successfully place the siege tanks, he's trying to taunt his opponent, but every unit lost here counts, and with the 2-1 upgrades, that will make the world's difference to both players. So Zapper trying to micro his medevacs well. If he loses any of them, if he loses this 1 filled medevac, that could do everything to him. It has 3 health, it falls, and the medevac does fall for Zapper. So he still has the bigger force, but these 2 siege tanks here from bajastapler could make a difference. We have a command center here from Zapper in production, and so everything has changed. We have this Raven here with 2 health, and buildings from bajastapler forced to lift off, and so it will all be about micro. I don't think either player is going to have even the slightest chance of actually getting back into this game economically. So this command center, is in production. I believe Zapper is being revealed, but bajastapler has nothing to engage this starport. He'll have to most probably get Vikings. I'm not sure if Marines will be able to range there, so he's moving out to destroy his opponent's upgrade centers. And we have these 2 filled dropships and the Raven from Zapper probably perusing the skies, just looking for punishment to inflict. This will surely come down to the wire. We have bajastapler's factory here hovering amid the skies, and so it will truly be a test of both players' StarCraft 2 ability. Eventually, I'm sure there will be a final conflict. This Zapper is going base hunting here, so the starport moving out for our blue Terran player, and I'm just unsure as to who is going to win. It is so incredibly close. Zapper does have this small little force and the 1 Raven, so that is about all of the army he has left. So I'm just... this is completely blowing my mind, this game. bajastapler is probably going to be hunting for that last building. If he can destroy this starport, the game is over. And we have just 2 turrets here, and they could do some damage. No, I do not think bajastapler is going to run. He is going to run towards the turrets. The auto turrets could make a difference if bajastapler loses even a unit. No, he does not. So they could have made a massive difference for our red player if those turrets could have been used a little. If the turrets had just been able to focus down on one unit and eliminate it, that could have changed the game. So Zapper has enough minerals to produce, but he does not have any SCVs. Instead, only one Raven and just all these forces. So he says, wow. That is exactly what is going through my mind, and surely Bajastapler's mind, as both players have no idea what to do. We have a Marauder here just sitting about for Zapper, so perhaps it will spot the starport, but Zapper is moving out, so this factory will be hunted down. But will Zapper's base come under siege by his opponent's Marines? It will, but he is trying to move it, so if this thing can be put to burning, it might change the game entirely. This final engage will make all the difference. So Bajastapler now moving his Zapper is moving his starport, Bajastapler making another command center, and he might actually soon be able to get back in this game in terms of supply. So it is possibly looking grim for a red player. There may and will possibly be a final engage here. I'm almost out of breath. I am out of breath. Heart rate is soaring this game. Wow. When Zapper sent it into me and said it was truly epic, it was truly epic. Both players with comparable forces. And now Zapper's 2 dropships are going to move in to intercept his opponent's base. And if he can succeed in the base hunt, he could succeed in the game. So neither player is out of this. The starport taking to the unreachable corner of the map. That is entirely off access. And so our blue player will need Vikings. Now his base comes under siege. The command center moving away, but Bajastapler still has another command center. So if he cannot directly engage his opponent, he could lose this game as a result of poor micro skill. So he's immediately taking to the air and surely going to drop off his forces here. He is, and so he is moving everything forward. Probably going to take on his opponent mano a mano. So he is trying to take down this medevac. If he can do it, it will change the game entirely. So now the medevac's healing, and the command center will successfully land, and Marauder's just taking some pain, taking some hits, and this medevac is down to 32 health. So if it can be taken out with units in it, it can... Wow. Wow. Entirely astonishing. So this command center will try to be flown over here. Bajastapler not producing anything, sorry. He does not have any sort of a composition, and so now he will attempt to fly over here, but if he loses any of these medevacs, it may well change the game. And so his forces nimbly dropped off, and these two factions just teetering on the edge of engagement. Zapper, I do not believe he lost anything, and Bajastapler lost a few populations worth of SCVs, so this orbital command will eventually burn out. And the Raven here probably going to send in an auto turret, which could do so much damage to his opponent. Will it? It's looking like it's just flying into the corner here. We'll probably try to land a point defense drone or something of the sort. I don't know if point defense drones actually absorb any sort of ground damage, but the medevacs here going to come in from the reverse and just base hunt the way bases are hunted. So now Bajastapler moving in for the engagement on Zapper, and if he can retreat to his siege tanks, which he does ever so efficiently, all of these auto turrets are placed down, and our blue Terran player has not enough money to produce another base, so the blue Terran player has not taken his 2 siege tanks, and that could very well change the game if Zapper can drop off his units and destroy his opponent's command center. That may well be the game, but there is still this starport, so this will be ever close. The orbital command is going to try to fly away, and we will have a direct engagement here. This could change the course of the game. Bajastapler better not lose any units to those auto turrets, and they're coming under siege from the auto turrets. None of his units seem to have died so far, thanks to the medevac support, and so just wow. I am entirely unsure as to who's going to win this one. Bajastapler still lifting off the command center, and he still has it. So these 2 medevac forces, one of them just at 20 health now, so it sustained even more damage. He may be moving to intercept the siege tanks, and if he can do that, he could pick off an essential component of his opponent's army. So now Bajastapler trying to move these siege tanks about. If they can pick off some units as if they're sieged up and Zapper tries to drop, they will be eliminated. So this game entirely incredible, and Zapper just hovering his units in the corner. He's probably going to move in for an intercept from the side. It's all about micro right now. 35 to 22. Zapper's outnumbered, but he has out upgraded his opponent by now, and so this command center has lifted off and flown around. An auto turret is bringing siege to bajastapler's supply depot, and there is just that one Raven here that has done some damage. So it's all about who lands where, and this siege tank will get some essential kills. Both teams landing their units on top of one another. Bajastapler has not landed all his units, and he could very well lose his army composition. And he GG. Zapper has come back in this game and won the game against all odds. Bajastapler, GG's. He was ahead for the longest time. I was almost ready to call it in his favor. He had the base left. He had the units left. He had the larger army composition for the longest of time, but he dropped right on top of his opponent. Did not drop all of his units and lost the game. What a game it was. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an honor to cast episode number 20 for you. This is, of course, Ost77 signing off. Goodbye.